You're listening to the Surgeons of Horror podcast.
Hello, welcome to the Surgeons of Horror podcast. We've been dedicating this current season to John Carpenter's films, and it's sad to say that we're coming to the very, very end of his film career. At least as far as we know it, there's no sign of him coming back to the film industry as yet. So as it stands, the last film that he produced and directed was a film called The Ward, starring Amber Heard. But before we get into the dissection part of our podcast, I should introduce our hosts for the podcast session. And starting with yours truly, my name is Saul Murty. I'm the lead surgeon for this, but I need an able assistant to accompany me in the dissection as we throw this bad beast onto the morgue slab and cut away at its insides to see if this film deserves the merit or not of being a worthy horror film. So in order to do that, I will introduce you to my offsider, none other than Dr. Richard Lovegrove. Welcome aboard, sir.
Good evening, good sir. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see you kind of decked to the nines for this celebratory occasion as we, as I said, look into the final film of John Carpenter's work.
Yeah. It's a shame that we're coming to the end of it. We've got so many fantastic things under the belt, and to end with this one is, it's a shame. Let's just say that.
Yeah, look, those that are familiar with the film or even John Carpenter's work and have been following us along the way may already know that this film is known to be a bit more of a whimper than a bang as a final film is concerned. But that's something we're going to kind of look at as we dissect the film. And we're kind of giving the game away a little bit by kind of hinting that we may be in agreement with the popular consensus on this one.
Who knows?
Who knows, Shaggy? Okay. But before we get there, we should probably ask the question that I always ask to my fellow podcasters. When was the first time you watched it? Was it recently in order for the podcast, or have you seen it prior?
No, literally the other night.
Yeah, cool.
Yes, no, I hadn't really heard about it, didn't really know of it. But having watched it, now knew the girl who was in The Flash, and what was it?
She's
Arrow?
She's been in a lot of the
Sky High.
The DC stuff. Yeah, she was in Sky High too. So her name is Danielle Panabaker. Mainly known for being Professor Snow, or was it the Snow character in Flash? But she's also no stranger to horror films, particularly around this kind of era of when we're talking, because in 2009 she was in the Friday the 13th remake film as a character called Jenna, and potentially the one we discussed this in our podcast when we did Friday the 13th. Go check it out, folks, if you haven't already listened to it before. But when we did chat about it, her character is sort of the one you kind of want to be the final girl, but spoilers, she's not. Because her character was kind of engaging more so than the actual female character that we were led to follow at the end. Anyway.
You think was that a bait and switch that they intended to do?
I guess so, because she's kind of set up to be a bit of the more of the kind of friendly, kind of nice character.
Yeah, you could easily see her in that role. The final girl in what was it, Cabin in the Woods?
Yes,
almost.
Yeah, that's right. And she was also in The Crazies, the remake, The Crazies of George Romero's one, another film that we discussed, the one with Timothy Olyphant, though. As the lead and as a character called Becca. Again, so no stranger. And then this is when she would come in to play the ward the following year. She's also been in Piranha 3DD, that classic film. But like we said, mainly known for her role as Professor Snow in the all the DC kind of spin-offs and the like. So there you go.
Sky High.
And Sky High. But the lead, obviously, is Amber Heard, who is no stranger to publicity at the moment. With,
Scandalous.
With the whole Johnny Depp stuff. And regardless of what you think of that particular thing, it's hard. It'll be hard for her to shake that image because she will forever be known as that person involved with the Johnny Depp kind of scandal stuff. So
Yeah, like
just to see how that will transpire moving forward.
I think she's a name that everyone probably didn't really know, but then we're like, oh, she was in Aquaman, or she was like, in these other things. But yeah, it'll definitely, probably it'll boost her career in some direction.
Yeah. Well, she was. She kind of came to light in. There's a film called All the Boys Love Mandy Lane in 2006, and she played the title of Mandy Lane in that, and that was probably one of the movies that kind of projected her into the front stage, as I said. She was also in Pineapple Express and the Joneses. She cropped up in Zombieland. And Soon the Darkness came out around the same time as The Ward. But following this, like literally the following year, she was in Drive Angry and The Rum Diary, which she starred with Johnny Depp. And then a couple of years later, we've been like movies like Machete Kills, 3 days to Kill as well, Justice League, as you said, and Aquaman and such like that. A big name as far as following
especially
that
currently.
Especially currently, now, in a nutshell, before we kind of start dissecting this proper, the concept of this film is that it was set in 1966 as a setting, and it follows a young woman who's been institutionalized after setting fire to this house. And then she finds herself haunted by the ghost of a former inmate at the psychiatric ward. And that's kind of loosely... And the girls that we're mentioning are in there too. There's about 4 or 5 girls that kind of mix within the ward along the way. Now... Yeah,
it sort of plays out... I wrote a whole bunch of notes as we were going along, and the first couple of ones I've got is John Carpenter's next memoirs. It sort of starts playing out. And it
I like what you've done. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it felt like a similar sort of intro and stuff like that to it.
It was a bit, and we will kind of dissect that a little bit in a moment.
And there was a title or something like that said Station or something Station. And so I just got written down Station because I don't know if you're a fan of Bill and Ted, but that was a big part of the second movie.
Yeah.
And then apparently when the recent film came out, they had an interview where they spoke about it. And in the script, when they were writing that, they had deleted a scene that went back to the police station or something like that. And they deleted everything except for the scene heading, which was Station at the end.
Yes.
So it was, as you know, in screenwriting, the scene heading is always in capitals, and so it's and so it was just there, and the next scene ends, and the next thing just said Station. So that became an in joke with them, and so that's why that exclamation of saying Station is in those films, and so I always loved that as a kid.
I love it.
Station.
I love it. I love the whole Bill and Ted stuff. They're so cool. I actually seriously need to rewatch those films.
They're good fun. They are
good fun.
Awesome.
And we're digressing, which says a lot about the ward.
The film though, is produced by a bigger boat, and so earlier into it, I was thinking is this what they meant by in Jaws when they were referring to this is what we need by a bigger boat, as in film wise?
We're going to need a bigger boat, a bigger shark. The one thing I just wanted to touch on was just on some words from Carpenter before we dissect, because this was the film prior to this one. His penultimate film was Ghosts of Mars, which we just recently did in our last podcast, which was 2002. So there's an 8-year gap before he's kind of pulled back. And even then, he was kind of a bit tired of the business when he was making. I said 2002. It was 2001. Correct myself. Ghost of Mars. So 9 years of a gap, and even then he was tired of the business, as I was saying. And he, you could tell from the film, it just lacked anything, and it just felt like a jigsaw of old films, of his old films, mixed and mashed together. And so you kind of question why come back, because he said, I was burnt out I had fallen out of love with cinematic storytelling. Now, he was coaxed back to do a couple of episodes from the TV anthology series Masters of Horror, and he did a couple of episodes with that. And it was this thing that kind of got him started, the creative juices flowing a little bit again, and started falling in love with the craft of potentially making something. And this is when he got the script around that same time for The Ward. And what attracted to him about this film was that it was primarily in one location throughout the whole film. And that was like, oh, I kind of like that. I want to do something with that. And apparently the film was actually shot in a real operating mental hospital. And the crew was caged in to prevent patients from intervening with the shoot, which is kind of interesting.
Jesus.
Yeah. So look, there's a reason for him to come back. So if we do kind of come out at the end of this and say our thoughts are in the negative of this film, then we know that we can blame Masters of Horror for the reason that he came back to the film industry to make it. Okay, so with all that kind of underway, let's start looking actually at the film itself. So we do open at within said psychiatric hospital. It's called the North Bend Psychiatric Hospital. That's got to be a tongue in cheek, going round the bend.
Around the bend, yeah.
And we are greeted with a young patient named Tammy, who is in the nighttime, which is when most of this seems to occur. And she's then attacked and killed by this unseen force during the night. So we get like it's a big like long sequence, isn't it? Like the opening tracking shot down the corridor before we then kind of see the scene itself, and then end of that scene, it tracks back out of said corridor again.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this as like an opening moment? Do you feel like it was just a pointless kind of jump scare kind of introduction?
I like the 3D graphics.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I like, as in, I don't know, the text mainly. It looked very clean. I don't know. It was trying to go in with that shark grab and stuff like that, which I don't know. It's it sort of was forgettable for me because I'm going straight to the shattering like intro where I was annoyed. It felt like that there was two title card moments.
Yes.
When you went from that then into these shattering sequences with images where I was like, just use the shattering images. Because it wasn't like perfect graphics, but like with the shattering, but it was better than most. But it instantly sets it up where it's supposed to be this inhibiting sort of like figure. Is it a ghost? Is it a person? So it's nice in retrospect of what the story sets up through the flashbacks with that imposing shadow figure. So like looking back at it, maybe the tracking of the hallway is more about a parallaxing of that view of I was going to say a lower view, looking up at a silhouette, but especially adjusting to light. But obviously, if they're chained up, they're still small. Anyway, but I always like ghosty type of stuff, especially it was like that. My bird's been annoying at the moment, flying up into the rafters where it's hard to get it down, and so I had to turn off the lights, and so it was all very low light. I was watching this in the dark, and I had a great time.
Nice,
a lot of fun.
Maybe that's the way to watch it.
I was thinking, is this the sort of film that was going to make me get recurring nightmares or something where it's getting the heebie-jeebies and stuff like that. It's hard to do that when you have a pet or I'm sure that would be the same with children, since things that are running around with their own little minds bashing into things and you're going to worry about them chewing your cords. It was good because of that. Like the jump scares didn't really, it was almost like it was a family-friendly sort of film.
And I wonder on that note, Richard, if that was more of a case of where, because he had worked in more TV field, there is this feel of it being more of a TV movie rather than it being a feature film.
Playing that line where it can be released either or. It's a good idea. Especially too, you probably got producers or production heads as well in there saying that like you've only got one fucking three shits, like or something like that.
Yeah.
So it could even be something like that, where it's just like, okay, well, let's take the blood out, or we won't add this sort of stuff in there, because you'd be surprised the sort of stuff that you can get away with. Well, I'm sure you've seen the sort of things you can get away with with PG rating, but going into it, I'll have recurring notes where I say who wrote this, but it's and I've looked up their writing credits, and they haven't got a lot of things really before it or after it.
Says a lot.
Well, as in they do have credits, but nothing I've
nothing
heard
that
of.
stands out. Yeah.
I haven't looked into any of them, but nothing grabs me. It's the intro to the film where it's like, maybe that classic sort of thing where you just go, okay, title cards because Dawn of the Dead, and maybe it wasn't that, but those zombie type films are the last sort of films that did those title card moments really well. They're giving a lot of exposition over the top of something that isn't somewhat a character delivering it in dialogue, no more than a reporter or something like that,
like those passing of time moments that they try and tell within those opening credit things as well.
What was the film where I think it actually might have been 13 Ghosts, where it does a track a full rotation panning shot where you get the sound effects of the house burning, and you get the impression that then he loses his wife or something like this. That sort of stuff is great. Giving a lot of time, as you say, to tell us something about it, rather than just going, quick, grab me, splashy.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so where do we go from there? All right, so let's then the film itself then takes it into our introduction of Amber Heard and the character Kristen, as she is running through these kind of woods. She's a bit kind of bruised and battered. She makes her way to this kind of abandoned farmhouse, and which she proceeds to set fire to it, at which point the local police find her and then kind of take her off to a psychiatric hospital.
Yeah, and there's this moment where he butts the door and it closes, and I couldn't help but want a Jerry Lewis moment where he's trying to close the gate and it keeps opening, and he gets the other gate and he's supposed to close it, but by the time that one's opened. So, he keeps doing it, but he keeps closing the door, she keeps kicking it closed or something.
Nice.
But instantly wrote down arson. I follow a little thing where I think that she should have been sent to prison instead of going to a mental institution. It's just that, and it's constantly reinforced.
I love it. Yeah. I just going back to what you were saying about the writer, I've just kind of looked up. I presume they're brothers, but one of them's Michael Rasmussen, and he actually wrote Cruel, which was the crop feature that came out last year, directed by Alexandra Arja, who has done countless films. And it was one of those films. I think it split people in the cinemas, but I kind of dug it. I thought it was. I actually quite enjoyed it. Oh yeah, and I've just seen there the other wrider was his brother Sean Rasmussen.
The poster I'm looking at for Crawl, with executive producer Sam Raimi, is like an exact rip-off of the shot from Deep Blue Sea with the shark. If you remember that same moment that they've got that shot, that's the same freaking poster. Down to the actress.
I think it was heavily inspired by Deep Blue Sea. Which again, I think is why it was why it split a few people.
I like Deep Blue Sea, so
it's good. I actually really enjoyed it. I have to say, I thought it was a good ride. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's go back to the ward. So then we pick up with Kristen as she's taken to the ward, and this is where she meets the other patients that reside there. We have Iris, played by Lindsay Fonseca. We have Sarah, played by the aforementioned, we talked about her at the top of the podcast, Danielle Hannah Baker. We have Emily, played by Mami Gummer, and Zoe, played by Laura Lee. Now, Zoe looked like Britney Spears to me. In this, I thought she was a Britney Spears.
In her
school uniform, kind of hit me baby
obviously
one more
glammed
time.
up.
Yeah. So, and then we also we meet this nurse character as well, don't we? Who's a bit of a token nurse Ratchet type role.
Yeah, appropriately named Nurse Lunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and usually when I do a capital L, it looks like a C or gets mistaken for it. So I'm assuming if that's what they did in the script as well when they were writing it out. That's great.
Lunt.
Yeah.
So
big lunt.
And so Kristen is then escorted to Tammy's old room and is given medication so that she can rest for the night. Now, I don't know about you, but when she goes into the bed, she's still wearing her shoes. That annoyed me.
Before that, she's given 2 showers. They give her 2 showers before they put her in there, and then they also put her in under the blanket, but on top of the sheet.
Yes.
Like, as in the shit that you usually lift up.
That's it.
So the shoes I forgave, but I was more annoyed at that. But this is at the point where there was an obvious production not, I don't want to say not caring, but the oversight wasn't necessarily maintained.
Yeah.
Or who knows, or maybe it was intended. But yeah, there's certain things like that constantly make you go, oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could argue. You could argue.
And the line, this is the ward.
Yeah. You could. Yeah, this is the ward. Oh, really?
And credits.
So, yeah, but you could argue that, and this is, I'm pulling at strings here, but you could argue that the reason that things like that are a little bit disjointed is because of the reveal at the end, when everything isn't as it appears to be. So maybe it is meant to be.
The fact of having Amber Heard in 3 shower scenes in a film.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think that
she's just a really dirty person. Let's get her back in that shower.
She doesn't clean her bed. She doesn't even get out of the bed to shit.
No, just shits in her bed.
Sometimes not even her own.
No. What are you doing in my bed? I'm just having a shit.
Just trying to find the cat off.
Anyway, stop shitting in my bed.
Use vermiculite for that.
Yes. Okay, so while she sleeps, her blanket mysteriously is pulled under the bed. Waking up to retrieve her blanket, she then finds this broken charm bracelet.
Yep.
And then we get the morning where she's slept on the floor.
Now, I could be wrong as well with the bracelet too. But at this point, it doesn't necessarily spell out anything. Like, you can't make anything of the words.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, that's right. It doesn't. So, there's a few couple of letters that are there, but that's... which is cool. I like that. Yeah. I like the fact that it wasn't something where it was like, from the get-go. I guess because of what the reveal is, you couldn't play around with it. But but we do. We are introduced. Go on. Sorry.
Will Lunt live up to a name?
I love a bit of Lunt. So this is where in the morning though, we meet Dr. Stinger, played by Jared Harris, the only other character or actor we should say that is probably the most known name in this.
I know him as Professor Moriarty.
Yes. Of course. Now, other people may know him as Lane Price from the TV series Mad Men, for which he starred for quite a considerable period of time. He has been in numerous other things along the way. I was trying to think when he started to really become prominent, because he's been if you look at his film credits, there's a whole load of shit that he was in before he started really kind of making a name. He cropped up in one of the Resident Evil films at one point, and then he was in Lady in the Water, Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and then The Ward, and then obviously literally the following year that's when he was in Sherlock Holmes' Game of Shadows as Professor James Moriarty, and then from there on in, he was he's starting to hit home runs, he's in he's cast in a lot of movies, he was in Lincoln playing Ulysses S. Grant,
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, he was in The Quiet Ones. That was the one I was trying to think of, where he plays a very similar role to this one. And it was produced by Hammer Films, which is why it came on my radar. And then he was in that really woeful remake of Poltergeist as Carrigan Burke. But he's also due coming up next year to star in Morbius as his mentor. Now, Morbius is like a new film with Jared Leto in it, which is from comic book fame. So it'll be interesting to see if that one resonates at all or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So look, he's a good egg, is what I'm saying.
Good egg. Yeah.
It never really disappoints. Like, he's very similar in these roles, but I kind of like him. I think he's good. So in his office, Stinger then tells Kristen that she had the address of the farmhouse written on her hand and asked her about the fire and what she remembers. And Kristen is unable to recall anything prior to that moment and insists that she is not crazy. And later that night, she attempts, first of many attempts at trying to escape, only to be caught by one of the orderlies and then returned back to her cell.
Now,
yeah.
That's not how lockpicks work.
Yeah, I was waiting for this.
Yeah. Yeah, so what you need to do is you need to put something flat in there so that you can hold the thing at like a little bit of a slant. Now, this isn't with all locks because nowadays they have safety locks and they're in a very different sort of way. They're not completely unpickable. They just take a lot longer and a lot more patience.
Yeah.
But the principle is basically you're trying to keep something on a slight turn like this. So there's these cylinders that are all going up behind that. And so you stick another thing in there that's going to fit those little cylinders up, and the tautness is going to keep those cylinders up. So eventually when those cylinders are all at the right thing and they're not all level because the key is all jagged, then it'll turn. And it takes a little bit of ratcheting and stuff like that. But yeah, that's you need at least two things. And so a lot of the times when people get a paper clip, you need to get that to a flat sort of thing so that you can then maneuver that flat area. That's the principle for it. And so it just got really annoying when it was like that knife type thing. It was like a letter opener, I think she got.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Like,
it's just like,
even with old, number locks, that's not how fucking keys and locks work.
So I feel like I might be saying the same thing a lot through this, but we could argue that because of the result of the ending of this film.
Yeah, okay. You're right. No, that one would actually cut it out there. You'd hope that would be,
I mean, like, look, it's like I said, like it's much to muchness, really.
You're right. Damn, it's just made all of my notes go back from being this shitty film to being. I needed to rewatch it again and watch everything.
It's all a dream sequence.
That's it. All the things that aren't a dream sequence there. Like Jerry Lewis bit's the only bit I got. Damn it.
Okay, so then she wakes up in the middle of the night and she captures a glimpse of this horribly disfigured figure staring at her through her bedroom window or door window or whatever it was. Oh, door window, wasn't it?
Yeah, reminiscent of the bat sort of Dracula. In the 92 or 96 version, 94 version, early 90s version. Yeah. When he's like the bat form, he sort of like has this.
Yep. And she's like, "What the fuck was that?"
Get the flashback.
Yeah, they'll get a flashback. Yeah, of chains and such.
Chains and girl. At this point, I didn't know if that was Tammy or if that was supposed to be Amber Heard.
Yeah, I couldn't tell, but if we go to if we go into the end of the movie,
if we stop talking and watch the movie, Richard.
Anyway. So So the next scene is in the courtyard and she's with Iris and Emily, and she sees this is where they see two people looking at her from Dr. Stinger's office, a male and a female figure. The girls don't know who she is, and they only to tell Kristen that they have been there before many times. And this is where
something like it's sad, or they're sad people.
Just they kind of look down like. Then Kristen takes another shower, and this is the really long shower sequence shot from below.
What I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're just like, are you paying homage to Brian De Palma's Carrie at this point? Like, where are we going with this? Like,
if nudity in a film like that's unjustified is annoying, it's annoying if it's only for the crew. Like, you know.
yeah.
You know,
like what?
Like
was the point
besides
of
that, it's unnecessary. Like, you know, as in for what ends up happening, there's multiple other ways to film that. Like,
yeah, because even like the
all these
music
girls-
is this kind of like kind of thing, like all the suspenseful stuff going on, and you're like, what?
They try and justify it later on by a payoff of saying, so do we want to talk about what happened in the showers? And it's just like, okay, you're going to try and say this is an incident, but like, you know, even like in It, with like, you know, that was terrifying, and that was before they even had the shower sort of like sequence.
yeah.
So it's just like, yeah.
Anyway, so we get lots of back shots during shower sequences until we are then. This is where Kristen, then not realizing the other girls have gone, turns around and we see her get attacked again by this disfigured figure. However, upon telling the nurse what's happened, she just gets drugged and then gets sent to electroshock therapy.
Yeah. I wrote Requiem did it better, and hell, even Return to Oz did it better. But yeah, that it didn't necessarily, like, I felt like the electroshock therapy seemed like it was a it didn't have enough fear, like, as in not by the actors or anything like that playing it. I mean, in terms of the script, it sort of was, it happened, and the after effects didn't really like serve it. So it raises the question of whether or not she actually had that happened, and maybe she just dreamed or imagined that happened to that character.
Exactly. You know? Yeah, that's right.
Especially because we don't see Jared Harris, so it might just be this encumbered fear that's psychologically being planted in her head, which we know she's susceptible to.
It's a weird one, and even like, this is the thing with Jared Harris's character as well. And I know I'm jumping the gun a bit because of the reveal at the end, but I think he does crop up in the shock therapy sequence, because she's saying, I don't want this to happen. You know, where's Dr. Stinger? I need to talk to Dr. Stinger. And all of a sudden he pops up and goes, here I am. And you're like, was that? So I kind of started going, at the end, I was like, is he a real doctor? Or is he part of this kind of world? Do you know what I mean? Like, I did, particularly at the end, I was just like, because there's this weird, like, translucent dream kind of effect that's happening throughout this film.
Yeah. Like, it could also be that, like, it's set in the 60s, probably because of the sort of therapies that they were doing, and electroshock therapy was one of them. And they actually thought, like lobotomizing and stuff, that it had not necessarily in the 60s did I think lobotomies were a good thing, but earlier there was a certain groups of people and stuff like that did medical people. So it's not beyond plausibility to think that even the screenwriters thought that it was justifiable to the character. Even the Jared Harris thing of saying maybe it calms them down, like, you know, like the ice bath therapy or something like that. Or isolation therapy, which like, you know, is crazy. Like, you know, was it Penthurst Mental Institution?
I think so.
In America?
Yeah.
One that the reporter went into and then uncovered all of the terrible things where they were just lying around in their own feces all day.
Yeah, that's the one.
Similar to the sort of nursing home stuff that came out during Corona.
But with the electroshock therapy thing, though, it kind of felt like it came out of nowhere too. Like the decision to go, oh look, she's imagining this thing in the shower, fucking electrocute her, and you're just like, I was like, what? Right. Because we immediately go to that result. Anyway, I just thought that was a bit bizarre.
Yeah, like, because now looking at it through the lens, because I have only seen it once, but looking through the lens of going, oh, okay, it's obviously how it is. It would be interesting to see, like, the shots of the angles, because I'm thinking even if it's from a low angle, looking up at Jared Harris and it's almost a little bit off, then maybe it could just be her perspective, like, you know, her imagining the two awful things going, I'm completely alone because there's a ghost that's trying to attack me, and there's the people who work here are completely against me as well. that's what I mean by it, the fear element of the electroshock therapy wasn't even set up. I don't know if it was set up either enough or at all beforehand, because it, as you said, came out of the blue.
Yeah.
And because of that and the aftermath of it, it wasn't a recurring thing. Like, there wasn't necessarily flashes. I can't remember that occurred from that, because it would make sense that if the first time she was attacked was after the shock therapy, even if it was a hallucination. I don't know.
I hate to. Well, I don't hate to. There's a reason for my madness of bringing up One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, because I already mentioned the Nurse Ratched character, but equally, the sequence where Jack Nicholson goes under the electroshock therapy sequence, probably one of the most harrowing moments of that being caught on film as well. When that happens, like, this isn't that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It felt like it was a case of, like I think you were saying a moment ago, that this is what they did, wasn't it, in those days? Let's just throw that in there and just to amplify, no pun intended.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
there's an impression of that about the whole film, like, and I'm not going to go back to the lockpicking thing, but there are other things that was all ticking off that same box for me, which for me felt like it was the easiest sort of, collectively we know about that. And either it was jumped around in a writer's room and then the writer didn't invest too much into that, rather than going, it was a common thing in the 60s. I'll look at one article about it or something like that.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. It could easily be written off as the perspective of the character, which could not be as intelligent about all of that. Plus, also the whole perspective is not supposed to be from a clinical sort of view. No. I don't think
this is true. Okay, so the next sequence we have is the therapy session with Dr. Stinger and all the girls, and like you said, let's talk about the shower at the moment. And this is where Tammy's existence, the previous inmate, is briefly mentioned but quickly dismissed. Let's not, there's a thing where I think Dr. Stinger says, let's not talk about people who aren't here, or something like that. Now, Iris attends her last therapy session with Dr. Stinger at this point, where he uses hypnotherapy to unlock Iris's hidden memories. After the session, Iris is then kidnapped and killed by this disfigured figure, where she's kind of like led down strapped down in a wheelchair, led into this kind of lab essentially, and the disfigured figure uses some tool and shoves it through her eye. In a very pleasant way.
Just before that, in the hypnosis session, if the filmmakers wanted to get it more accurate, what you would do is put the metronome above the eye line of the person you want to hypnotize.
Yes.
Because you always want to give them some reason to close their eyes, any reason. And that's why the metronome is supposed to be something monotonous, especially with silence. And then when you accompany that with something that's above your eye line, you're instantly feeling
so I've always wondered, does that technique actually work?
It's like, as in, you can't turn around. Like right now, if I was to do it on you, no. As in, you're not necessarily susceptible enough. But if we were to go, let's do it one night, and I would have to do it where you didn't know I was going to do it, and I would get you into a rhythm and a pattern. The same way when doing stage combat and stuff like that, I remember having discussions with Kyle Rowling, who was stunt double for Count Dooku in Star Wars Episodes 2 and 3. He about cheating time or stealing time, if it was possible. And so there's a move in sword fighting which is called a feint, which is you're going to make it look like you're going to attack over this way, but then redraw it to a different attack, or come around the other side to where they're now open, because they're going to parry or block this line. So it's a lot harder for them to then psychologically and physically turn it around, because reacting even to a bullet takes so long for our brain to send it to our limbs to make us do it. And it's this sort of thing of going from our, eyes to our, the boom, sort of thing takes a time. So that was what I was proposing, that psychologically you can manipulate that. Then when I looked into hypnotism, that's pretty much what you're doing to send someone into any sort of hypnotic trance. You want to try and get them into something that is calming, rhythmic, and in their control, or at least it feels like that's in their control. And then all you're doing is guiding that. The same way in a fight, if someone is trying to hit you, you want to, because that force is coming right out and it's keeping on that line. You've just got to try and manipulate like that line. So that's why standing there and doing a soft block with something that's hard, or a hard block with something that's soft, is going to be able to take part of that blow, but also deflect most of its force.
Yes.
Same way as the principle of in anime type things when deflecting a gunshot with a knife and it going to the side, or any sort of deflection. What that is trying to do is alleviate as much force, but it's keeping its trajectory somewhat.
Yep.
But yeah, it's something that instantly when I thought of that, that's why they usually do these two things.
Yeah,
usually above the eye line of the person who's doing it, so that you would make sure that it's well above their eye line, so that they're looking up like that.
Yes.
Keep going. But it's again, you in these sessions, they're always, there's like a psychiatric, a psychologist when you go to a shrink, or something like that. Everything's quiet and somber.
Yes,
and
yes.
And so you automatically get that. There's Darren Brown had a great show where he plays a hypnotic tone, which does the same sort of thing. It's basically giving your brain the sort of signals to get into a certain rhythm or something like that. It's
cool. No,
but also too, at this point in the film where I was like, oh, cool, ghosty death. I was like, oh, all of this scary scare for instant kill, and I was like, why isn't it torturing them? But obviously we get to that point, and I kind of like that how it didn't. It still then now raises the question of why it was the just big Tammy character doing it, and why it wasn't just sort of like the doctor pulling a trap door. Yeah.
Anyway. So Kristen gets concerned about Iris and the fact that she's disappeared, and she confronts the girls and staff about her disappearance, but everybody just keeps kind of quiet about it. Kristen finds Iris's notebook, kind of sketchbook, and looks through all of the drawings to find a picture of a girl named Alice. Alice? Who the fuck is Alice?
She fell down a hole.
And another picture of this ghostly figure that had attacked her previously, with the name Alice Hudson at the top of its page. And then she retrieves the broken bracelet from earlier and puts the pieces together of the letters to spell out Alice.
You know what? I twigged just then, which I'm sure that during the film I should have twigged, but I noticed that Alice Hudson on the scary picture was written the same way, in the same handwriting as the Alice Hudson pretty picture.
Yes.
So I should have twigged that time. I thought, again, it was just, bad film. So I'm starting to lean a little bit more towards, okay, you're using these things. It's good to use excuses that you think it's something else. It's a shitty film, and it's not.
Yeah. We're pulling the wool over our own eyes at the moment. So what happens next? Kristen then confronts Dr. Stringer, and tries to convince him that the ghost of Alice Hudson is haunting the girls. And Dr. Stringer,
ghost
here. And Dr. Stringer denies the existence of a ghost and cryptically tells her that she needs to find the answers out for herself. What the fuck are you talking about there? Anyway, Kristen confronts the girls about Alice, where Emily then confesses that Alice was once a patient at the hospital, but that she got out. At that night, Kristen and Emily attempt to escape the ward by going through an air vent this time. Nurse Lunt kind of realizes that they must have gotten out because the door's got like a bit of paper wedged in it. So they've escaped. So the alarm has been raised. So then this is where they try and make their way to the front entrance of the hospital. But this is where Alice's ghost then appears in front of her. And they kind of fall over. And then Kristen blacks out and awakens back in her room the next morning. And it's revealed that Emily was caught by the orderlies during the escape. She does disappear at one point too. Have I missed a bit too there? Isn't that bit where they go down into the morgue at one point?
Yeah, yeah. And
during
she
that
hides
section.
in a thing, and
Yeah.
you get a couple little scary scares. That she's standing behind her, or her hand does something.
Yeah, I thought she
And
was going to climb into one of the. Oops, sorry.
Yeah,
I thought she was
yeah,
going to climb into one of the slabs at one point and hide in
yeah.
there.
Because she ends up opening it up and looking in there. And yeah, I kind of like that bit. That was like a spooky spook. I was hoping it was going to be like oh no, she opened the portal, so now the thing can scare them even more.
Yes.
But
yeah.
yeah.
Or at least like find the body down there. That was were they going to find the body of Alice down there? Anyway.
Yeah. I can't looking back at it now as well. I like the fact that it's sort of all of these red herrings type things, which you're putting off as a couple of other things. Because even when you get back there and Emily is fine, and I was sort of like, why is she fine? As in she's not separated. Why is the other one back in her bed? Something's not right.
Yes.
As in which now made me think that the Jared Harris character was at least enabling her to know to break out or to do something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was even still besides the fact of me saying that that's not how you would rig a door so it wouldn't get trapped as in lock shut. And also what was it the other one, the other vent. She unscrews one vent to get into it, and then she kicks open the other vent. Luckily, it's not screwed. But again, it's in her mind, so it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So it's just the means. All these escapes, different methods of escapes, and climbing through vents and out of vents is all the path to self-discovery.
I like the fact too that they went into the other ward, and I think might have just been a little.
There's that one moment, isn't there, where they hide behind the curtain of a thing, and that guy is lying in the hospital, kind of just looking at them.
Because again, I was going to reanimator sort of areas where I was hoping it was going to be they're testing on everyone. Maybe these are military guys, and there's going to be a big beastie. Or no, I was having fun in my own psyche.
You went down in your own little warren.
Yeah.
So what happens here? So then we pick up with Sarah, supposedly having her final appointment with Dr. Stringer. At which point she then gets attacked by the Alice's ghost, and then she gets wheeled off again down into some unknown basement, strapped into the electroshock therapy thing, and just crank up that dial until she's fried.
Yes.
This thing goes to 11. I've had it specially made. One notch above 10, just to make it that a little bit.
Interestingly enough, little those things like volume levers or those things.
Yeah.
The 10 or the maximum output is the voltage that is going through it. As in, it's not a minimum or a maximum volt. It's the voltage that's going through it. So when you're turning it down, you're actually decreasing the amount of volts that are going through that signal. Yes. So that's what's decreasing the volume for it. I think that's really interesting. I didn't know that it was something that was literally capping it out at the maximum. Yeah. But also too, in that shot, when she gets electroshock, they this is a film thing. They reverse the shot of the switch getting turned off, as in they just filmed the switch getting turned on, and then they reversed that shot when the character turned it off. So they either didn't get that or they chose to use it. As in, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty damn sure when I saw that it was a reversed shot. As in, there's a timing thing where it's almost that happens. It's a speed thing.
I'm gonna have to look at that again to confirm that one. But cool. Good pick up.
Because that for me was sort of like a nail in a coffin where it was like, haha, there you go, budgetary restraints. But good coming back as well too. It was just literal cuts in between of the action of lights flickering to more makeup and stuff like that. And her fun.
Yeah, it was cool.
That one was tortured. Why? I guess yes, it's all.
Well, she was supposedly the bitchy one of the group, wasn't she? So
Which is weird because I only know her from the nerdy characters. I don't know her from any of these sort of films. So like Sky High, she's not the popular girl. Like she's always looking at the popular girls and going, "Oh, that's funny." So I thought it was funny that she was supposed to be the popular girl in this one.
Yes.
As in not, as in out of all of the archetypes, she was the one that most closely fit that one. Oh, Carl,
yeah. It was interesting choices. I just realised, I don't know at what point, but there is this moment earlier on in the movie which I kind of bypassed, where the Sarah character, played by Daniel Panabaker, puts on a record and they all start dancing. And it's like this one moment where all the characters are in synergy with one another, which I thought was kind of interesting. Anyway, but anyway, Sarah's dead now, so so we can move on. And this is where Kristen then finds out from Zoe and Emily that all the girls have been killed by this Alice character because she did bad things to them. All of them she did, and her ghost is now after them for revenge. And this is where Emily then breaks down and threatens to kind of commit suicide, and they're trying to talk her out of it, at which point Alice's ghost turns up and helps her.
Which I'm sure all the kids were sort of sitting there going, "No, not across the street, down the road."
Down the road. Oh, they slit her throat anyway.
Yeah, oh well. That's more effective. That's actually the most effective is the one
the thigh. Yeah. The thigh. That's it.
That's why, I think it'd be a lot easier to do the whole vampire thing if you made it more of a sexual thing, because it would just be the best, quickest way for them to get the blood out.
It's interesting you say that, because going back to a previous John Carpenter movie, Vampires, which was 2 movies before this one, the first kind of real proper kill, as in for the turning of a vampire scene, is on Cheryl Lee's character from Twin Peaks. And the vampire in question goes down on her between her legs and bites in said thigh region and it's an incredibly sexual moment, and deliberately so. So it's interesting you should say that, because
because you could imagine that where it would be if it was an accepted society thing where we knew vampires existed, that it would be probably a paid gig where some people would go, oh, it's a porn thing, as in you go to a sex club and you have these orgies where you get paid to pretty much get drained, and then you leave, you stagger out drunk or high, from loss of blood, and then you have to recoup it that way.
Yeah.
It's an interesting film.
It's interesting because it almost came true when Donald Trump did his recent kind of press announcement at the landscaping, and one of the shops was actually a said vampire haunt. No, it wasn't. I'm just talking bullshit.
Now, he's a lizard person.
He's a lizard. Yeah. He's a lizard. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, no, but
there's lizard people.
So what was there? I completely lost track.
Killing
Alice Ghost has killed Emily. So it's just left with Kristen and Zoe left to kind of try and run away, basically. And they the way to do that is that they stage a sequence where Kristen keeps Zoe hostage with a knife, and they try and kind of get out that way. But they're thwarted by the token orderly guy that keeps cropping up. And this is where this is another moment where Dr. Stringer just suddenly appears. This is why I was saying about is he a real character or not? Because he just pops up in the scene and just goes, I'm here again. It
stops them from
it says don't drug her, and then she does something a bit crazy and he's like, all right, drug her. And then they place her in a straitjacket inside a room. And she's locked up in confinement. However, once again, she manages to escape and takes Zoe with her again, which you just kind of go, well, what was the point of all that? They are both then pursued by the orderlies and the ghost throughout the hospital in a kind of selection of
right.
sequences. At which point, they make their way and they get to a service lift, and Zoe goes, "I'm going to give you fresh," and she climbs in, and the ghost of Alice crops up
It's
behind
spooky.
her. Where's from here? And
The ghost, Scoob.
and Zoe is killed off screen.
No.
And then
In a dumbwaiter.
And a dumbwaiter, that's right. And then Kristen gets into dumbwaiter afterwards and makes her way up dumbwaiter.
Dumbwaiter.
And that's I'm kind of sidetracking because I remember there was a recent so that the Grudge franchise just had a recent series that was on Netflix, and there was a sequence in there where a girl climbs up in the dumbwaiter, and it is pretty fucking freaky. I liked it.
Yeah.
It was one moment that kind of worked in that series. There was a lot of things that didn't work in that series, but that was one thing I was like, oh, I kind of liked it.
Cool.
Anyway,
Which just reminded me of, was it Pet Cemetery, when the remake one, where they had that nice sequence.
yeah, you're right.
Cool.
That was cool too. That was nice and edgy. That was, again, one of decent moments in that film. I wasn't a fan of that one.
Yeah, neither. Like
we went to see it together, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah, it missed the mark where I think we were concerned, but having that moment in there, like the original moment equivalent, was the scariest moment for me in the original film too.
Agreed.
So I think that I like that at least that was scary. You know what I mean?
This is true.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens there? So then this is where then Kristen then ends up back in Dr. Stringer's office, and then she sees all this, like his office just looks like somebody's ransacked it, and she then Dr. Stringer kind of turns up, and they have like a bit of a moment together where he's trying to persuade her to confront her demons, essentially, and then and this is where. Oh no! There's a bit before it where it looks like she's killed the ghost, isn't it? That's right.
Yeah,
first.
she beats the shit out of it, like, you know.
Yeah, in a really like
it takes physical form and
in a bit of a that's right. It reminded me of Scary Movie, as in the piss take off Scream moment, where where it seemed really easy to defeat this thing. Anyway, and then she gets into the office. Sorry, I kind of missed that bit.
That's all right. Yeah,
and this is where he turns up, and then so she's looking for Zoe, and Kristen finds the file on Alice Hudson, which details her treatment and all of the girls' names, including Kristen's. And this is where Dr. Stringer enters and reveals the truth to Kristen. Her real name is Alice Hudson. Throughout the film, we then get various flashbacks are shown of a young girl in chains about to be abused by an unknown man. It's never actually revealed who this guy is. And it was revealed that the girl in the flashback is Alice herself, who was kidnapped from her home 8 years previously. And then Alice was left chained up for months in the basement of the same farmhouse that Kristen had burned down at the very beginning. It is then revealed that Alice is suffering from multiple personality disorder, creating Zoe, Sarah, Iris, and Emily, all the girls essentially. And over time, Alice's own personality became so overwhelmed by that of the others that she became lost. And through experimental techniques, Dr. Stringer explains that her treatments were working until Kristen had suddenly appeared, the Amber Heard character. And Kristen is yet another invention of Alice's mind to protect itself from reliving the trauma at the farmhouse. Dr. Stringer had used hypnotherapy in an attempt to reawaken Alice's memories. And after this revelation, Alice's ghost reappears and throws herself at Kristen. They have a bit of a fight, and they fall out the window. From a story up, reawakening Alice again. So we get this whole this big reveal sequence. Now, I don't know about you, but this was done better in previous films. And one that comes to mind a bit more recently was Identity, which was the one that had John Cusack in it, where it's a bit of a murder whodunit kind of homicidal thing set in a random hotel in the middle of like a motel in the middle of nowhere, and it's always raining, pissing down rain from memory. And as they slowly get killed off, you slowly work out, it's revealed at the end that it's a multiple personality disorder moment, and it's killing off their own people to kind of basically the strongest personality will win. That was done a lot better. It's not a great film, but done a lot better. Well, what are your thoughts on this particular reveal, Mr. Lovegrove?
Like, yeah, I felt like I was getting a lot of like memories of Shutter Island and as you said, like, on a lot of other films, even like Memento, moments of it, where it felt like, the payoff moment where it was like, oh, okay, this is the reveal. It just didn't have the weight as, I don't know. It felt like it was trying to be a bit more of a jumpy, scary film or a slasher flick than anything that it could have had any substance to. When it's strange that the plot is all about that substance, as in that whole twist is like, I don't want to say this. M. Night Shyamalan, I think, would do a better job.
Oh my God! What are you saying?
I know.
What are you saying?
I know, and I don't know. Like, I'm literally running through a whole bunch of sequences in my head, but I do think that, as in, it might have played a little bit more towards the strengths of seeing things in multiple ways, or misconstruing a lot more things, where there's hints of it in this moment, but I wrote it off as shitty filmmaking.
Well, look, it's billed as a supernatural psychological horror. That's what it's, if it's going to fit into a subgenre, that's what it's going to be. But I feel like the psychological part of it is absent in my view. I feel like it needed to be a lot weightier for it to resonate and really play with that. Because it's never really apparent, and maybe it's because they were trying to leave too much with the reveal at the end. But I think even too, the comparison of when, like, it was doing the reveal and it was the flashbacks of him talking to the parents and stuff like that, there wasn't really any difference between the real world and the made-up world, which I know is what the hallucination is trying to do. But then even with the explaining of the sequences of, like, is she running around doing all of this stuff physically? Is it just her in a bed drugged up? Like, as in, it felt like there was a little bit of a cop-out with the way that could have had a resolution in a stronger sense, especially with the parents, where I sort of got an impression towards the end where it was like, I got so many questions for these parents. But yeah, like, I don't know. At the end, it has enough there to sort of turn around and go, oh, okay, like, it was all the multiple personalities, and she had made them up, and that's why they were killing it off. And the moments where the Sarah character was flirting with the orderly and stuff like that must have been her flirtatious side trying to come out, like, as in she's compartmentalized all these different things. But as you said, there's other films that have done this better, and I can't remember what it is, but I'm seeing a black and white film. An old film, and I think it's like one of those plays that's been on. It's not The Bad Seed, but it looks like The Bad Seed, like, one of those sort of things. And it's pretty much a guy compartmentalizing either his own psyche or personalities, egos, like, ids, something like that. Archetypes. And as you said, it was like, them competing for supremacy, or it gets to the point of going, it comes down to the real person and the most dominant personality, and then he has to fight that one or something like that. But like, performance-wise, I think everyone did a really good job. Like, all of the actors. I mean, Jared Harris, I only really knew him as Dr. Moriarty, and he wasn't my favorite Moriarty. It's a different take on the character, but the Sherlock from the TV series with Benedict Cumberbatch is amazing. And again, the allusions that you could make with his character and the questions that you have with just his idiosyncrasies. In his first appearance especially is just so delightful and whimsical for your imagination. Whereas when you get dimensional archetypes, like, they're hard to sort of break apart for anything than what you see. So it's good with the Jared Harris character because of his performance, and as you said, him popping up all the time. I felt it was more like he was constantly watching, and he said, "I'm always watching you and everything like this, and I'm always here." Like, with the position of even her blocking it out, she might not have even seen him standing in the corner with a clipboard, like, or anything like this. Or
are the meetings in a bed rather than like, in the office or like, a hospital bed or anything like that, So I like that. And again, the way he played an earnest character that even through the film, it made me feel like he was genuinely trying to help, which made me think that even with the electroshock therapy moment, it was him thinking, well, it's an extreme, but it's it's been proven to work, or it's currently one of the accepted pseudosciences, which this as well is this penitentiary is known for experimental
yes, that's
therapy,
right.
which they claim multiple times.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, I felt like other films did it better, but for the way that it was going for a more slasher flick area, maybe that was what they were trying to go for, was setting it apart, just telling the same story, going, we can't maybe do it the way we want to, or
well, especially like the end scene as well, which we haven't quite mentioned as well, where we get like the epilogue moment, where it's revealed that the people that we're looking at, Kristen, earlier, are her parents, and they've come to take her home under supervision, and it's then that as she's kind of gathering up her stuff, as in the Alice character, and she's taking one look around the room, opens up her wall cabinet, and all of a sudden Kristen jumps out and attacks her, and we get that kind of final jump scare moment. And that kind of led me to I always remember when I first watched it, and then again when I watched it this time round, other than for the cheap kind of jump scare that they were going for at the end, which is such a horror trope and cliche, I kind of questioned, like, so why is then Kristen now the Kristen mental compartment of her personality attacking her? Like, what does that say? Like, about
I
that?
was thinking that it could be like, I don't know, like an unraveling, like how Kirsten was the one to bring all the others, to kill off the others. She didn't kill off the others because it wasn't even that persona, it was Tammy's persona. That's what I mean. It's strange that, like, she was making these, like, but even within that, you could argue that because it was an experimental psychotherapy or whatever like that, that his failings were in compartmentalizing and making her own characters that she's creating, killing the other ones, because it gives her now the psychological power that she knows that she can kill off personalities. Yes. So therefore, it's a lot easier to kill off the one that isn't the most powerful.
True.
The person is the most powerful, because even out of all of those archetypes, she was the most powerful or dominant.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. That's true.
But having said that, like, even looking at the H.H. Holmes stuff, like, the amount of times he changed his names, and the amount of times people who didn't have malicious intents but changed their identities multiple times purely because it was the only way that they could take ownership of their own life rather than the life that was given to them or the life that was named or that was brought into. It plays a lot of sort of like valuable things like that, because I would be interested to see what that next sequel would be, where it's this Alice character who, how old was Alice as well? Was she supposed to be a 14 or 11? Or
I don't know if it's ever said, like
they said the abuse, I think, started at 11.
Yeah, so she was young. Yeah, and she was there. It was 8 years or so she was in prison. So they would make her like 18 or 19
18 or something. Yeah, because I didn't know, and the actress, I couldn't place her age, and so I didn't know if she was like 15 or something like this, because then I was like, that'd be a really cool film to then have, like, because then she's made up all of these older characters. Like, I was thinking if she was like 15 or something like that, because then you could play that next film where she's going to school, like an exorcist sort of thing, but you play it out before she gets possessed. You know? And it's her struggling at school and seeing this Kirsten character, and then basically playing those same archetypes, but in school, which you've got all of those same illusions, not on the nose, not the same way as this way, where you think it's all real people. I'm literally thinking more like a horror film where she's being hunted by the cool girl or hunted by the dominant girl, and it's bullying and it's all those same things in school world, but it's not the student, it's the ghost.
Yeah, I like
so,
that.
Like, so therefore it doesn't go down the she's insane route. She goes like, oh no, she's like, she's being bullied, or she's demonizing herself.
Oh god, there's something to that. Man.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. I like that sort of, because again, I was like, no jump scare. Like, as in, let's play with what else we can have a look at. Yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
That's kind of cool. All right, so look, all right, before we kind of cast our final opinion on this, like, let's just look at how it then kind of played out when it was released. So it was made on a budget of 10 million. At the box office, it made 5.3 million. So not even, just over half of its cost to make the film.
Ouch.
So
does that include marketing as well? I assume that probably would.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Gee, that's ouch.
It kind of it was released over a couple of film festivals like around late 2010. Before it was then officially released in US theaters mid 2011 in the end. But then it only grossed like $7,000 stateside, but then kind of got the worldwide gross of like that 5.3 million.
Now, because this had supernatural elements, or like specific ghost elements in it, it probably wouldn't have played in China or those markets.
True. Yeah, that's true.
So,
that's true.
That's a risk. A lot of like ghost films, like especially now with everything being in lockdowns and all that, and people having to stay within their regions and stuff like that. It's when you have to make that buck. I mean, Disney's screwed at the moment because they have to go, we need to make everything so the Chinese like it.
That's right.
But even on top of that, like, there was Rotten Tomatoes have got it on the tomato meter is 33%.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
The audience rated at 27. So it's
it's a shame. And like we said, like it's not a patch on the songs. It's not a patch on the films that John Carpenter had made earlier on in his career that kind of made his name, and it feels a bit of a sour moment to end on this note. Really, and like we were talking about, and I know you weren't privy to the podcast discussions prior to this, but the Ghost of Mars one was the same kind of thing. So it's almost like the last two movies he did are these kind of real. Kind of downbeat moments. It's just such a shame. But like I still think it comes back to like John Carpenter admitted like his just heart wasn't in it anymore, and even this kind of attempt at reawakening himself fell flat on his face because he's just lost that magic that which made his earlier films so good.
I think there's so much work as well, like for especially a director who it's their vision. And they haven't got the backing of, like Tim Burton or something like that. Like, as in how he has the backing of the Disneys or whoever's funding his project, so they can literally let him have a crazy digital wonderland.
Yeah.
He would have to do so much, and so I think it would be a lot of stuff that he's got to delegate. And so even the delegation of projects like this to be able to get what you would really want. If your heart's not that in it, why put it in so much when, like, there are other people. And I'm sure that, like, everyone's did their job well. I mean, everything looks clean and looks tidy and looks like it's supposed to be. But it is hard sort of thing, especially if you've got the person who's judging the cuts you're going to be getting. If he goes, that was good enough.
Yeah. I mean, like, There's a couple of notes here, like just picking out a couple of critic kind of assessments of it. So Adam Naiman of Fangoria kind of had basically quoted saying, the problem with the ward is not so much its lack of style as the fact that the director doesn't seem to have much interest in the material, which says a lot about what we've been kind of discussing just then. And also David Harley of Bloody Disgusting gave it 1 out of 5 stars. And he said, like, if someone other than Carpenter had been at the helm of the board, then no one would be talking about it. Yeah, that's true. And I think that kind of comes in line with, like, I'm speaking for you, but from my point of view, it's kind of where it came out with it. I never said at the top of the podcast when I first came to watch this, I think I got it out on DVD or I waited till it came out on DVD release because being in Australia, we're always a little bit behind and stuff. So, and particularly if a film bombs a bit in state-wise, it takes a while for us to get it anywhere near anything out here. So and because it was John Carpenter, I was like, well, I kind of want to see it. He's not made anything for all these years, and so I'm pretty sure I got it out on DVD and watched it. And yeah, kind of just afterwards, just like, oh my God, this is like a real big fall from grace. And was sourly disappointed by it. Which is a big shame.
Well, the other thing too with a lot of these projects is like, was the guys who did Gravity Falls said that when Disney doesn't call and then suddenly they call, everything happens now.
Yes,
that second. So the other thing too could be that the time to get to a concept where you have to give everyone those delegated notes saying this is what my vision is.
Yeah,
might be 2 weeks, and so he may not have been even during editing he might have then gone, oh fuck, we could have done this. Oh shit, we should have done this. It's hard a lot of time as I was saying too with someone who they say it's a vision of this person and go, okay, here's external sort of model or something like that. A lot of the times that's why people do books, because they go, I read this book and it's something that's been happening for years in my brain. Now I know what to say and when to say it. I don't know. It's hard to say with older filmmakers, especially that they suck, and I don't think this sucks. It just seems like it's one of those things where you get someone who you really liked doing a new thing or something like that, like the next Hellraiser, and you want it to be good, but obviously the people who are involved are like the subject matter, or at least like their job. They're credible on that level.
Yeah.
So
it's almost like this was a bit more of a flatliner moment. Really, there's no real pulse to the film, and I think that's the key to it. Like a lot of his earlier stuff, the reason it resonates is because there's a little bit of style and panache to his work. It has a little bit of its own personality beaten away. And this doesn't have that. It doesn't have that kind of character that stands out or resonates with the audience. It is, and maybe that's the problem when you are dissecting one particular character into many characters of their personality, that it becomes very one note in the delivery and the performances of those characters when they get displayed. So it's tricky, and I think as I said, it's just a shame that it ended up on that note. So, we've gone through this. You've watched a couple of Carpenter films as well. Would you recommend this film to anybody, even if it is fans of Carpenter that haven't actually caught this film or not? Or would you just say, this is one of those moments, best left alone and remember him for the greater films that he did?
Well, I don't know. I kind of like nowadays that it's a digital age, and the good thing is that when we have these anniversaries where we'll honor filmmakers or stars and things like that, we'll go through not even just the IMDb list of going, okay, what have they done? But we might have enough time to just put it in the background whilst we're doing something else, uni work or studying or building a tree house or something like that. And so you're able to sort of at a lot less expense now, be able to see these things. And so even the bad ones. And I usually like, and I think that a lot of people do like it now, looking at it in order, because you get a greater sense of the psyche or the person behind the art. And when you look at filmmakers especially, it's so hard to turn around and say this is their painting, as in one film isn't their painting. And as you say, this feels like paint by colors. It feels a little bit like he's commissioned what the artwork should look like and maybe done a really rough sketch, and then everybody else has painted it. Then edited that, and then colored, matched it, and then got another actress in, or and stuff like this. But that's part of an industry, as in there's multiple different ways to make a film, and part of the reason that great filmmakers become part of the machine is because that's the job, as in not everything can be art. I mean, they don't give Oscars to every artwork made, and you've got to pay the bills, and commercial is constant. And and well paying. So like, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I'm surprised that it does have so much hate. Having said that, it is bland because because it hasn't got a voice, because it hasn't really got that oomph to it.
Yeah.
And everyone's hitting their marks. Everyone's doing a great job of it. Amber Heard's great, like, you know, as in and plays everything too. It's good.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, isn't it? I think because the thing is, it's hard to then, like, we are assessing this on somebody that has done great work before, and so you're always going to have that kind of perspective of, but you know, you're never as good as your what's the quote? You're only as good as your last outing. And so that's why I feel like a lot of people that love Carpenter, like myself included in that list, felt disappointed with this particular one, because this is his swan song film, right? You know, it's very unlikely he's going to get called back now, or you know, he's doing his whole music thing is his passion now. So like, he's not. It's really unlikely that he's going to come back and do a film where he's going to sit behind the camera and direct. They'll call the shots.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think. Was it Orson Welles where like one of the last things he did before he died was a peas commercial or something like that? Or there's another star who was the voice in Cars or something like that.
Well, no, Orson Welles he did the Transformers the movie animation as one of his last films. And there is a bit of an ingoing joke with Orson about the reflection of Orson Welles is that his film work should have been done backwards as far as like he starts with the animation of Transformers and ends with Citizen Kane. You know, as far as like,
or even like War of the Worlds.
Yeah. So like anyway, but fun all the same. All right, man. Look, I think we are at the point where we're going to bow out of this one. And do you have one last word to say?
I was just going to say, like, you know, as in within that, no, I wouldn't recommend it. Having said that, like, it's a genre type thing, especially with horror. I love recommending it to my parents, like, you know, as in a lot of these sort of schlocky horror films, because they do the jump scares. They give you the moment of awe. That's what I mean. It had the spooky moments of ghost stuff, even if it's the beginning. And the payoff isn't too on the head where it's going to lose the jump scare people with, it got too bogged down. I feel like, you know, as in there's an audience for it. And that's why it surprises me that it's so low, because I feel like it would be below 50% in my sort of branchings, but like, you know, there's a lot below 50%.
This is true. This is true.
It's because it's a good film. It as in, like, you know, everything's tight with it. It just hasn't got that love to it, and it doesn't feel right to turn around and say it's a bad film, because
it's very middle of the road, isn't it? So it's and I think
I think it could easily have a following, because for some reason it's reminding me of the Sam Raimi. Drag Me to Hell.
Drag Me to Hell.
Like, that was much better. It was much better. And it's not a very same sort of film, but it makes me sort of think that that's how I'm surprised people aren't sort of seeing a bit more of.
Possibly. You kind of
it needed to push more boundaries. No, you're right. I'm taking it back down to probably 35.
Yeah. Look, I don't. I personally, it just, to me, just it needed to have personality. And it didn't have that. It's and because of that, it's just never going to mix. And like,
this is one they need to remake.
Yeah, could remake it and do it a bit better. We'll end on that.
No more into that psychological story.
Of course. All right. Well, on that note, I think we've done all we can say. Let us know your thoughts on the award. Maybe you do think it deserves higher praise than it received. If that is the case, let us know on our usual social platforms on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And give us a holler there. And let us know also any other thoughts you've had on the previous John Carpenter films as we do bow out of this session of talking about John Carpenter's work. It's been a fun ride. I have enjoyed kind of looking across his work across the years. And I do want to extend my thanks to all of the fellow podcasters that have joined us along the way as we've dissected these ones. But I will thank the colleague who has joined me on this particular podcast discussion, Richard Lovegrove, for dissecting this one with me. Thank you once again for joining me.
Oh, anytime. Glad to go to the ward with you.
Thank you so much. Until then, I'm your lead host, Saul Muerte, and thanks for listening. Goodbye.
Bye.
You're listening to the Surgeons of Horror podcast. Music supplied by Peter Nezik. For more discussions or podcasts, head over to surgeonsofhorror.com or head over to our Facebook and Twitter sites for the latest news and updates.